Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. Your old buddy Tim back with another video. And in this video, I need a little help. I need a little help because I got a few questions about things going on in the world, economically speaking, and I'm not real sure that I understand what's going on myself. So I'm going to ask for some help now. You know me, if you watch these videos, rarely am I the smartest guy in the room, even when I'm by myself. So when things start happening in my world, which is the world of real estate, and I start hearing lots of terms being thrown around that I kind of know what they mean, but maybe I need some clarification, I consult a friend of mine who is, without a doubt, the smartest entity that I know. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about my close and personal friend, Mr. ChatGPT. So, I don't know if you've tried ChatGPT. I call it Chuck, my friend Chuck, but I have found it to be an amazing resource of knowledge and information, and quite often I will consult Chuck when I have questions about things or I need clarification. You know, I used to go to Google, and now I've got Chuck, and he just seems just a tad smarter because he can talk back, which I really like. So what the heck am I talking about? I'm talking about terms like inflation, recession, Federal Reserve, consumer price index, and how these things affect, again, my business, which is the real estate business. Now, I am smart enough to know that when the Federal Reserve hikes the rates, the prime, that trickles down and affects all money, whether you are borrowing to get a mortgage, credit cards, car loans, anything tied to money. Well, when the Federal Reserve hikes those rates, it makes money, I guess it's this, more expensive. Interest rates raise. And that's why we have seen mortgage rates go up from about 3.5% to 4% a year ago to almost 8% right now. And one of the questions that I've had is, why does the Fed need to raise interest rates? How is that related to inflation? How does that all apply to the home mortgage rate? So I went over in my friendly browser and I called up my buddy Chuck. Now, all kidding aside, ChatGPT is a wonderful resource tool. If you use the paid version, it is pretty much up to date. The free version, I think, only goes through January of 22. So if you use the free version, the data that it can capture is really not recent. So I like the paid version. It's not very much. I don't even remember how much it is. But anytime I have a question, I go over to Chuck. And that's what we're going to do today, because I really want Chuck at ChatGPT to explain to me these terms in very simple terms that I can understand and maybe you can understand them. And why is it important that you understand them? Because if you just sit along blindly in this world while all of this stuff is going on in the economy, you're going to get caught with your pants down, as they say. Not that I've ever been there, but I'm told that's not an experience you want to have. So I'm going to go over, let me pull up my screen, and I'm going to just say to Chuck, and all you have to do is type it in, explain in simple terms, inflation. Now, one thing you got to do with Chuck is you got to spell it right. All right, let's see what Chuck has to say. Here we go. Sure thing. Imagine you have a basket of goodies. See, I love Chuck because he puts it in terms I can understand. I know what goodies are. Imagine you had a basket full of goodies, some candy, toys, maybe a comic book. I love this. Now, if the prices of those things keep going up over time, you'll need more money to buy the same stuff, right? That's called inflation. It's like the cost of living getting a little more expensive and your money doesn't go as far as it used to. That, my friends, is the simplest explanation, the simplest definition of inflation. Your money doesn't go as far as it used to. Your money does not keep up with the price of goods. Those candy, the toys, cars, homes. It just doesn't keep up. Basically, when there is an abundance of money like we have had in this country over the last few years, and demand for consumer goods, the toys and the goodies, etc., the demand goes up. Well, maybe the supply lessens and the price of those goods rises. It seems like there's always something going on to increase prices. But that, in a nutshell, maybe I should have said in a nutshell, is what inflation is. Now, being in real estate, how does the inflation rate affect the housing market? Chuck, what do you got to say? It amazes me how quick this is. All right, so think of it this way, Chuck says. If inflation is high, the prices of goods and services are generally going up. Lots of money, lots of demand, lower inventory. That includes the cost of building materials, labor, and all the stuff that goes into making a house or building a house. So when inflation is kicking in, it can lead to higher construction costs. We've seen that happen. Now, when building houses becomes pricier, that cost often gets passed on to home buyers. Often my ass. It always does. So prices of the homes may go up. Also, high inflation can sometimes come with higher interest rates. When interest rates are up, getting a mortgage becomes more expensive, and that can cool off the housing market because fewer people can afford to buy homes. In a nutshell, Chuck says, inflation can make housing more expensive both in terms of the actual construction and the financing, affecting both builders and buyers in the market. My friend Chuck is brilliant, ladies and gentlemen, because that is exactly what is happening. The money, as the Fed raises the interest rates for a home mortgage or for building materials that you're going to finance goes up. Therefore, the payment goes up. The prices of the real estate stays the same. It does not go down. And therefore, consumers are having to pay more for houses and having to pay more for money. You got to remember, all money comes at a cost. If you borrow money, there is a cost. There is an interest rate. The next question I wanted to ask Chuck was this: how do rising interest rates affect inflation or inflating? All right, Chuck, what say you? All right. Let's break it down, Chuck says. When interest rates go up, borrowing money becomes more expensive. Higher interest rates. Imagine you want to take out a loan for a car or a house. If the interest rates are higher, you're going to pay more interest on top of the actual loan amount. Now, here's the connection to inflation, Chuck says. When borrowing becomes pricier, people and businesses might borrow less. The whole point of trying to reduce inflation is trying to get people and businesses to spend and borrow less. They might spend less on things like houses, unfortunately, cars and investments because it's more costly to finance those purchases. When spending slows down, it can put a bit of a damper on the overall demand for goods and services, thereby reducing inflation. Less demand can lead to businesses cutting back production, which can then trickle down to wages and employment. And voila! You've got a situation where the overall economy cools off for a bit, makes an adjustment, slows down. So the idea is that higher interest rates can help put a lid on inflation by slowing down economic activity. It's like tapping the brakes to keep things from overheating. The thought there, and it's been proven time again in our country, is if inflation is allowed to run rampant, we go into a recession, and if it continues, we go into a depression. We don't want to go there, folks. We really don't. So, again, the bottom line on this was it's been a huge time of prosperity, lots of cash, but then demand is high, inventory is low, prices go up, and it has to stop or we will get into recession. All right, so the next question I want to ask my friend Chuck is this one. How do rising interest rates affect home mortgages? He's my man. I love it when ChatGTP gets cute. Listen to this. Let me back up a little bit. Ah, the dance of interest rates and mortgages, Chuck said. Picture this. You're ready to buy a house and you need a mortgage. Well, when interest rates are on the rise, getting a mortgage becomes a bit more expensive. Here's why. The interest rate is like the fee you pay for borrowing money. If that fee goes up, your monthly mortgage payments also go up because you're paying more for the privilege of borrowing. Money costs. Higher interest rates can mean higher monthly payments for new home buyers. Now, if interest rates shoot up after you've already got a mortgage, you're in the clear for a while. Your rate is locked in. It won't change until you finance or pay off the loan. But for folks shopping for a new mortgage now, rising interest rates mean they might need to adjust their budget or reconsider how much house they can afford. It's like the cost of borrowing money doing a little inflation of its own. When money gets more expensive and you are in the market to buy a home, you've either got to throw more money at that home or you may have to adjust the amount of home that you can afford. And that's really been one of the more difficult pills for buyers to swallow is their money does not go as far now as it might have a year ago. You know, back when interest rates were at 3.5%, a $400,000 home might have cost you $1,800 a month. Today, that same home with 7.5% interest rates, it might cost you upwards of $2,700, $2,800 a month. And you know how we Americans are. We live and die by our monthly payments. We never ask, how much is that? We always ask, what are my payments on that? Especially when it comes to cars for some reason. But it is kind of a hard pill to swallow that you can now, a year later, even though you are making probably the same amount of money and you have the same amount of money to put down, probably cannot afford the house that you could have afforded about a year ago. So a little difficult for folks to understand. So, all right, the next question I wanted to ask Chuck is this. How does inflation affect the cost of living? All right, so Chuck says inflation and the cost of living are like two peas in a pod. When inflation happens, it's like a subtle push that nudges the cost of everything up a little bit. Have you noticed that everything is more expensive now? Prices for goods and services tend to rise over time. Now, let's think about your expenses, Chuck says. Groceries, rent, gas, all of the usual suspects. If the prices of these things are going up, you're going to need more money to maintain the same standard of living. Your paycheck might buy you less stuff than it used to. It's like a little economic squeeze, Chuck says. People might have to tighten their belts or make adjustments in their spending to keep up with the rising cost of living. Inflation has this way of making your money feel a bit smaller, and it's all about finding that balance between your income and the prices of things you need to live your life. We all know houses, money to buy houses is more expensive. Have you noticed your grocery bill? My wife complains all the time. And this is what she says, it's just us, although we tend to feed our entire neighborhood. You know, I don't know how families with boys, teenage boys do it. You know, they'll eat you out of house and home. Everything is more expensive now. And that is how inflation affects the cost of living. All right, so one thing you might hear a lot about is the Consumer Price Index. So let's ask Chuck, what is Consumer Price Index? This report comes out every so often from the government. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is like a superhero for tracking inflation. I love how Chuck is still making it simple for me, don't you? It's like he's talking to a kid, which he might as well be. It's a measure that looks at the average change over time in the prices paid by urban consumers for a basket of goods and services. Basically, the stuff people buy on a regular basis, again, like grocery, rent, and haircuts, and houses. Here's the cool part, Chuck says. By comparing the current prices to a base period, the CPI shows how much prices have gone up or down over time. It helps economists and policymakers get a sense of how inflation is affecting the cost of living for the average person. So when you hear that the CPI is going up, it means prices are generally on the rise, and when it goes down, prices are cooling off a bit. It's like the economic weather report for the stuff in your shopping cart. So basically the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, tracks prices going up and going down. Now, I really want to get back to real estate here. So let's see, what was, I had one more question I wanted Chuck's advice on. How can consumers deal with inflation? Kind of got a feeling I know this one already. Good old Chuck. All right, Chuck is knocking out here. Let's see what Chuck says. Whoop, not what I wanted to do. Let me scroll back up. My computer's a little buggy today. All right, so I asked Chuck the question, how can consumers deal with inflation? Chuck says, the art of navigating inflation. Here are some savvy moves for customers. You know, some days I just sit here in the office and have conversations with Chuck, and he just cracks me up. Budget wisely. One of the things you should do to deal with rising prices, keep a budget to track where your money is going. Knowing your spending habits helps you adjust when prices start playing tricks. I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey and his envelope system for budgeting. If you are in a crunch, you would like to have some help budgeting your money, it's a great way to do that. You can find all kinds of info online. Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace is the book. Number 2, emergency fund magic. Beef up that emergency fund. Having a financial cushion can soften the blow if unexpected expenses pop up. Honestly, this is one of the areas that most people fall short. They don't have an emergency fund. They don't have a rainy day fund. You know, it may be that they're living beyond their means, or it may mean they just are not making that much money to start with, but it's always a good idea to have a rainy day fund. My grandfather used to bury money in mason jars in the backyard, and then he would get drunk and forget where they were. Let's see. Number 3, invest smart. Consider investments that have the potential to outpace inflation. It's like your money doing a little dance against the cost of living. Of course, if you know nothing about investing, that's not going to help you in the least. Shop smart. Hunt for deals. Use coupons. Compare prices. I do like this. Being a savvy shopper can stretch your dollars a bit further. Number 5, income boost. Negotiate a raise or explore additional income streams. If the cost of living is going up, maybe your income should too. And here, let me scroll down. So basically, if you got the time and you can work a second job just to stash money away, by all means, do it. You know, there was a time when I was working 3 jobs at the same time to just make ends meet. And I was getting by on about 2 hours of sleep a night. It sucked, but I did it. I was young and I had a lot more energy than I did now. So, you know, maybe it's the fact that if you can't get a raise at work, you can do something extra. Go, you know, deliver pizzas, deliver Amazon packages, go to Home Depot. Holidays are coming up. There's tons of seasonal work out there. Adjusting your goals, revisit your financial goals. If inflation is changing the game, you might need to tweak your plans to stay on track. I talked to someone the other day, and they love to travel. And they had been, I don't remember where they had been, but they were they were planning a big Christmas getaway. And I asked them, I said, well, you know, with the economy the way it is, I mean, is that smart? Should you? Oh yeah, we're not worried. Well, you know, here's one of the things. I know everybody loves experiences. That's great. Love to travel, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a very big believer in a rainy day fund. I would rather save my money in this economy than spend it on a trip. I can take a trip when the economy is good, but that's free advice. Take it for what it's worth. Debt strategy. Review your debts. High interest debts can be like little inflating machines. Tackling them strategically can save you money in the long run. This isn't a commercial for Dave Ramsey, but one of the strategies he uses to get out of debt is the baby steps, where you identify your debts. Usually credit card debt has the highest interest rate, and you create a plan to pay off the highest one first or the least one first and work your way through them. Again, I just butchered that, but it's something like that. Financial peace, Dave Ramsey. Education matters. Stay informed. Understanding how inflation works gives you a better chance at making smart financial moves. That is the only reason I am doing this video. All right, I know you're used to seeing mostly real estate related content here. This is all tied together. The price of your house can play a big part in this. And if you are house poor, where your house payment is way out of line with the rest of your income, you better keep up. Long-term perspectives, think long-term investments, savings, and financial decisions should consider the marathon, not just a sprint. I've been investing in stocks for 20 years, and it's a long play. Same way with real estate. Flexibility is the key. Be flexible. Economic landscapes change, and being adaptable is a valuable skill in financial survival. You know, when times are good and we're all making money and, you know, things are not that expensive, we spend money like it's going out of style. We Americans do, probably the whole damn world. That's one of the things that's kind of gotten us to where we are now, is there was an abundance of money, an abundance of cheap money, interest rates at 2.5% on a house. Holy gosh, that's amazing, right? And so, you know, people spending and spending and spending is one of the things that drives inflation. So, okay, I'm going to ask Chuck one more question, and this one is about real estate. And I just want Chuck's opinion, knowing what he knows. Is now a good time to buy a home? I think Chuck is going to go, well, it depends. Let's take a look. Well, here you go. Deciding whether it's a good time to buy a home depends on a bunch of factors, Chuck says, like your financial situation, the housing market, and your future plans. Here are a few things to consider. Number one, interest rates. Check out the current interest rates. If they're relatively low, Chuck, catch up, my son. Could be financing, could make your financing your home more affordable. Well, Chuck doesn't look at the current rates, so let me just kind of give him the benefit of the doubt there. Interest rates are high. Market conditions, looking at the market, housing market in your area. Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Prices and availability can vary. In our market here in North Alabama, it is still a seller's market if you base it strictly on inventory, on the number of homes that we have for sale. We are still at about a 2-month inventory supply. However, if you look at it from the fact that interest rates have really slowed down home purchases and houses are sitting on the market longer, days on market, and the fact that sellers are now willing to negotiate where they were not a year ago, market conditions for buyers who can bite the bullet and take these interest rates now, maybe refi down the road, it's a great time to buy a house. Your financial health. Assess your financial situation. Can you comfortably afford the down payment, monthly payments, and other associated costs? What are your long-term plans? Think about the future. Are you planning to stay in the area for a while, or might you need to move in the near future? The length of your stay can influence the decision. That's exactly right. If you are only going to be in an area for a year or less, maybe even 2 or 3 years or less, buying a home, unless you just have the money to spend and want to do it, might not be a good time. You might want to rent just on the short term that you are here. But if you're going to be anywhere, I think over 3 years, you need to look at buying a home. Job stability is a big one. Consider your job stability. If you're in a secure position, it might be a good time to invest in a home. Duh, Chuck. Market trends. Research market trends. Are home prices rising, falling, or staying steady? Understanding the trajectory can be helpful. One of the things that we have here in our market is prices are holding firm. Okay, our prices were elevated over the last couple of years. I'll be the first to admit that. And when things slowed down, we did see an adjustment in prices, but we did not see a big drop in prices. So prices are pretty much holding firm. Your financial goals, align your home purchase with your financial goals. It's not just about the house. It's about fitting into your overall financial plan. Trust me, the worst thing you can do is buy too much house or overload your monthly income with house payment. Your house payment should not be 50, 60% of your take home, guys. I see it a lot. Affordability, ensure that the home you're eyeing is within your budget. It's not just about what you can afford, but also not now, but in the long term as well. Sage advice. Interest rates forecast, check forecast for interest rates. If they're expected to rise, it might push you to make a decision sooner than later. Again, Chuck is a little bit behind the times. We are at high interest rates now. I'm asked every day, where do I think interest rates are going? I think we're going to bounce between 7.5 and 8, at least through January. Then maybe I think we might see some come down. I think we're probably going to get around 6 and stay there. 6 is a good rate to buy a house. Real estate professional advice. Well, thanks, Chuck. Consult a real estate professional. They can provide insight into the local market and help you make an informed decision. I promise I did not ask Chuck to say that. Remember, there's no one-size-fits-all answers. It's about finding the right balance for your unique situation. So let me turn my friend off here. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. It was honestly helpful to me because, again, I had a pretty high-level view of all of this, but it really did help me to kind of break it down in simple terms to understand inflation, recession, CPI, the effect on interest rates, all of that good stuff. So I hope that was helpful to you. So, hey guys, you know, the market is what it is, and it's going to continue to be so, at least for a while. And, you know, as I said, our market here, we've got a great market. Property values holding firm. We don't have a lot of inventory, but again, on the buy side, sellers are happy to look at offers and negotiate and, you know, maybe even cut their price a little bit, maybe help with interest rates, all kinds of good stuff. So while inventory is low here, you know, the interest rates have kind of softened demand. But again, if you can afford it, if you are in a financial position to do so, like my friend Chuck advises, this might be a good time to buy a home. I would love to help you out. If you're just looking for more information on our market here in North Alabama, we have Leading Edge Real Estate Group. We've got 300 or so agents now, 7 offices all across North Alabama, Southern Tennessee. I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you, give you a snapshot of what is happening here in this market, talk about things like the market, the prices, the interest rates, the availability, all of that good stuff. And then you can make at least an educated decision about whether or not it's a good time for you to buy a home. So, all right, guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope you got some enjoyment out of it as well as a little bit of knowledge. Thanks to my friend Chuck, who I'll probably be talking to soon. He's my new best friend, which is a little sad when you think about it. But, you know, like I said, he's smarter than me, so what do I know? All right, guys, that's it. Get out, make it a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.